Eric, it's wonderful to have you here today, and thank you so much for participating both in this Zoom interview, but also for sharing your wonderful music with us. I thought
Well,
I'd tell the audience, our virtual audience, first of all, a little bit about where we met you. First of all,
sure.
through our friend Howard Stokar in New York, wonderful promoter of new music, and I know you worked closely with Howard over for many years.
Mhm.
And then it was brilliant a few years ago experience for the Fidelio Trio to come and at your invitation to play in your really cool series in the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. So I'd just love to talk a little bit about the piece "Obey Your Thirst." Great title for an Irishman. Um, would you mind telling us a little bit, first of all? I know you, Eric, mainly through writing acoustic music,
Mhm.
rather than acousmatic music. And I was really intrigued to know, have you done lots of stuff with fixed media or with electronics or electroacoustic music?
Well, I've done a fair amount, but it's always been tied to a live performance. I'm not very interested in writing pieces that are just loudspeaker pieces.
Eight pieces, yeah.
Yeah, I want a human being in there slugging it out with the machine somehow or other. And
Yeah, we're
so,
slugging it.
yeah, and it's usually solo pieces. But Obey Your Thirst might be the most challenging of all of those. So I'm very grateful to you for tackling it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always great to get really stuck into a piece like this. And what I love about it, apart from just the fact that it's a great piece of art, is that the written violin part is, as you say, incredibly virtuosic and challenging. So you really can get your teeth into just really learning, that material in itself. Could you tell me a bit, first of all, about maybe how that music or all material evolved?
Well, I can't remember exactly how it evolved. The title comes from a, a critic pointed out once about there was a soft drink marketed in the U.S. Years ago, for which the slogan was "Obey your thirst." And this critic pointed out that what that meant was that it turned out that a bottle of soda turned into a bottle of thirst. And I thought that was a great metaphor because the soda is carefully formulated to make you want to drink more of it,
More of it. Yeah.
or as much of it as possible. So I thought maybe that'd be a cool idea to have a violin trying to chase a thirsty, elusive, satisfaction of thirst in an electroacoustic part.
Okay. So at the beginning, which is, begins incredibly busy, fast, moving material, um, I'm very thirsty at that point, would you say?
Very thirsty.
Yeah, I mean it's really great. I love the kind of diving around the different time signatures, 5/16, 6/16, seven
Oh
sixteen,
yeah.
3/8, and there's a load of kind of threads moving through that music. And then this middle section where it's suddenly kind of you hit like a I don't know, it's like you're hitting a brick wall, but the music really changes suddenly when you get to this slower 4/4. I know there's the use of, you like to use them, they're called subharmonics, which we tell me about in a second maybe. But as well as that, the material really changes at that moment, about 4 minutes into the piece, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, it does. Yeah, I think the target of the thirst keeps changing, or that's the way I was thinking of it. There's a moment earlier where the violin's catching its breath. Just, I mean, it's like a very quick breath, and then you're off and at it again. But but the part you're talking about is really, it's just, the thirst just becomes, it changes its dimension. It becomes a sort of a fiercer, more urgent and deeper, darker need. And
And
then it's,
tell us a bit about the very grungy sounds, which
yeah.
are related to these subharmonics, which I have come across before in other pieces, particularly in Black Angels,
Mhm.
in George Crumb's Electric String Quartet. But maybe you could share with us a bit about where you thought of using these and how they came about.
Well, the piece was commissioned by Mari Kumura, who makes a specialty out of playing subharmonics. As far as I know, she's still the only one who makes that a specialty. They're extremely difficult to produce. Um, but I wasn't sort of putting all my eggs in one basket with when I ask for them in the piece. And what I'm really after is just extreme overpressure of the bow. So very gritty sound, and sometimes that can produce a sound an octave lower than the notated sound. But it's not
Yeah,
crucial to the piece that that note actually speak an octave lower. I mean, subharmonics are a very noisy sound, at the best of times. It's not a clear, beautiful sound that just magically shows up like a cello sound underneath the violin.
no, but it's a really unique acoustic phenomena, I suppose.
Yes.
I mean, when I was practicing this piece on my Giuseppe Rocca violin from 1848, which is very, if you call a violin highly strung in terms of how it's made, my Rocca is a highly strung. It's a copy of the Messiah Strad,
Mm.
and Roccas are
Wow.
known for their kind of intensity and brilliance, but also they're quite taut. So I know for a fact on this particular fiddle that subharmonics aren't going to be as successful because the fiddle is so
Right.
overly wound, but it's brilliant for projection and things. However, when I was practicing your piece, I was showing my daughter, who's an 11-year-old cellist, subharmonics, and she was really intrigued. And so we actually found a few really low subharmonics on the cello, which she's now well into. So
Wow.
you've
Cool.
had that effect already. Eric, tell us
Corrupting
a
the
bit
young.
about yeah, tell us a bit about the tape part or the fixed media or the electronics, electroacoustic part.
Sure. Well, as I recall, I believe all of the sounds are real world sounds, sampled real world sounds. Although they sound electronic because the pitch is shifted, but the processing is really minimal with these sounds. So they're often percussion instruments, wooden percussion instruments, metal percussion instruments of varying kinds. The there's a very eerie sound at the end. I love the way you play the last section, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The
That's
piece has a
beautiful
very
section.
melancholy conclusion, and
Yeah,
that
that's a
sound is
beautiful chorale.
actually, yeah, thanks. It's a the sound I'm using there is actually a very sophisticated kind of tuning fork that they use to diagnose hearing disorders.
Oh, wow.
But it
Right.
has this amazing uh, overtone series
Yeah, I hear it.
built into the sound that is wonderful backdrop for what the violin's doing in that part of the piece.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's that last section as well as, that beautiful chorale that you hear has incredible decay at the end of the piece. It's a long
Yeah,
decay, and
yeah.
not just musically, one feels it psychoacoustically, like it's a long period of time where the music is diminishing, and of course, orally it's getting softer. So it's
Mm.
really effective because it's been such a rush and a kind of in your face for such a
Yes.
long
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Um, is there anything else you'd like to add that I have not brought up about the piece?
Um, I think that's kind of what I remember about it. I think we've touched on all of the big parts. Just to reiterate that your performance is spectacular,
Oh, thank you.
and I didn't realize when you first sent me the tape that it was one take.
Yeah.
So I am amazed that you've
Thank
done
you. Thanks, Eric. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to sharing it with the Royal Holloway University of London audience and the larger audience in the autumn of this year, and hopefully getting to play it live in the not too distant future.
Fantastic.